Hi again. This time, I'd like to talk a little bit about cultivating intuitive perception, something that's so much part of our regular equipment, but not something that our culture necessarily promotes. But before we do that, just take a moment, as we often do, to just settle in and find that place of presence. It's your internal home base, but it's also the place where you touch into your presence. And I want to remind you that your radiating presence has a unique energy signature that is unlike anyone else on this planet, unlike any other living being of our wide array of earthkin. Nothing is the same as your radiating energy signature. That's actually true about all life. But just to bring it home to your own sense of yourself. So not only at this place of settling in is your ever-present, unflappable steadiness and that deep, abiding quiet, but it's also the place you touch into an awareness of your constantly radiating presence, your energy signature that reaches out to the world around you, as well as fills your entire body, mind, being. And it fills your body, mind, being with the quality and tone of your unique presence. So when I was growing up, I've mentioned many times, I lived in a multi-generational home where my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was the matriarch. She was a healer. She was also clairvoyant, so she's very aware of larger worlds and larger ways of perceiving. And she was my first spiritual teacher. And one of the things she taught me early on was to cultivate intuition, to cultivate an awareness of receiving little whispers, tickles, little nudges, different kinds of information and experience that would just drop in. And I remember asking her, how do I know if that's not made up? And she said, well, take your intuitive awareness, the things that drop in, write them down, and then later look back and see if they ended up having meaning, if they ended up being actual things that you really needed to be aware of. So I did do that. I have in my journal writing, which I've done my whole adult life, I note intuitive moments, and then I can look back and see where are they actual, where are they not. I can tell you a recent one, very recent, because I'm still recovering, which is why I sound the way I do. On December 30th in the night, I woke up, just came wide awake, and heard myself telling myself there is a wrongness in my apartment. I didn't know what that meant. I thought, nothing's changed in the last day, but the feeling and the word were wrongness. So I went back to sleep. I got up in the morning, wrote it down in my journal, but still not having any idea what it meant. And then that next night when I went to bed, I woke up in the middle of the night realizing I was sick. And that's when I came down with COVID. And so that morning, New Year's Eve morning, I went, oh, I get it. Something in me knew there was a wrongness going on, but couldn't name what it was, but heightened my awareness to the fact that there was something was arriving that didn't belong in this apartment. It's that kind of thing. it's letting it in. Very important, really key issue around honoring your intuitive awareness is to be receptive. Now, we know how important discernment is, which is why I appreciate my grandmother's input to write everything down and then see over time, did that have meaning, or was it a product of my own imagination or wishful thinking? Because that can happen too. But notice that we all get these nudges in different ways. For you, it might be images that just arise and then don't go away, or a thought that keeps banging into your head, asking for attention, or one word that just won't go away, or a physical sensation that asks you to pay attention to something. It might be an odd sensation that gets you to the doctor where you discover something entirely different, but you needed to get to the doctor. So I'm a fan of listening to the little whispers from wherever they come. I don't know, probably all kinds of different places, but just listening for the whispers and feeling into what they're conveying to you. And I do think that writing them down and looking at them later is a way to nurture and honor discernment, because then you can really weigh what's dropping in. Many years ago now, I think in 2011, I was walking across Central Park, and the words Devadana Sanctuary kept dropping into my head. Now, Devadana in Sanskrit means gift of the shining ones, because devas in Sanskrit, we might call them angels or spirits. In Sanskrit, they're shining ones. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Devadana Sanctuary. What does that mean? I had no idea. Took about a year of just, it kept coming when I would be walking through the park. And what it turned out to be was it became evident to me that I wanted to create something that would give people a safe place to connect with multidimensional processes, multidimensional living. So I created a website for Devadana Sanctuary. I also created a companion, Spirits of the Urban Sacred. They live now in a website called the Portal to Multidimensional Living. And I don't pay as much attention to that website as I need to, but it's a place where I have put some practices and postings about multidimensionality. But what's important in this particular conversation is that those words dropping in over time became something that actually wanted to be created. So again, writing it down and waiting. Now that took about a year. So I couldn't chase after it. I think we also can't chase after intuitive awareness. An intuitive idea drops in. It's probably not going to serve to try to figure it out or try to explore where is it in my world, in my known world, because it may not be part of your known world yet. Just as the feeling of wrongness wasn't yet part of my conscious world, it waited 24 hours, but it had relevance. So I think sometimes one of the harder things for us is to be receptive and not knowing at the same time. So I want to just underscore this. I don't have a whole lot more to say about this, except allow yourself to receive your intuitive awarenesses with your internal language. There's no right way. And intuitive awareness doesn't have to be logical. It does not have to make sense, because it actually might not make any sense in the moment you have it. But think about a time you might have been going somewhere and you suddenly felt an urge. Now, this has happened to me, and it happens right in the moment. I feel an urge to go, say, into a particular store or turn in a particular direction. I did that one day in the park. I just suddenly felt like, oh, I'm not going that way, I'm going that way. And it happened that by going that way, I ran into some friends I didn't know were in the park. So that kind of nudge can happen. The key is how to be responsive and not talk ourselves out of or into anything, but just to know that our intuitive awareness is another form of communication. It's as normal for everybody as our regular linear thinking. It's just another aspect of our way of being in the world that our culture doesn't particularly cultivate, but it's a wonderful resource. And I draw on it all the time. I'll do another video about asking for help. I am constantly reaching out to the unseen for input, for help, and being open intuitively can help with receiving what you seek to touch into or have some support around. So that's about all I have to say this time. I just want to encourage you to allow yourself to know how rich this reality is, how amazingly rich, how creative, how interactive our world is with us in every moment. So I'll have more to share on this in another video, but for now, just to allow yourself to listen and receive and be willing to take the journey of waiting and writing down what you receive and tracking what happens without efforting to understand or grok it, just to let it come and see what happens. Okay, for this time, that's it. I will see you later and take good care till next time. Bye for now.